Welcome to Bridging the Gap, the Madison County Chamber of Commerce podcast, where Madison County's stories and businesses connect. I'm Sarah Pugh, the Executive Director of the Madison County Chamber of Commerce. Each episode spotlights the people, businesses, and nonprofits that make our community thrive while sharing the stories behind what they do. We're looking forward to learning more about their story and their connection to Madison County. Today, I'm here with Tony Jacobson with the Pieceworks Quilt Shop. Thank you for being here, Tony.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are?
Okay, I'm Tony Jacobson. My wife and I have lived here for 21 years. I originally grew up in Menlo, Iowa, so about 40 miles away from here. My wife and I had, I lived in North Carolina for a year, then Pennsylvania for 10 years, Illinois for 7 years before moving back to Iowa. And we chose Winterset to move back to.
Wonderful. So most people know you as the owner of the Pieceworks Quilt Shop, but there's so much more to you than just that story. So can you tell me kind of your background and how you came into that?
Yeah, for 30 years, I was a graphic designer and art director. And so I was in publishing during all that time. And so part of the time I started out in Wallace Homestead Book Company in Des Moines, and they did some craft and sewing titles, but and then that kept going on with other. It was part of ABC Cap Cities at the time, and so that's why I moved to North Carolina for a year. They transferred me with the job. Then I started working on some computer books along with the craft and titles, and then a year later, I was moved to Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania, where it was Chilton Book Company, and we did a lot of antiques, collectibles, craft, sewing, business, technical, all kinds of titles. And so I kept in the kind of the crafting field all that time. Then when Disney bought ABC Cap Cities, they downsized. They didn't want the staff. They sold off the division that I was in. So my wife and I decided that was a good time to move back closer to home. Our parents were getting older, and so we wanted to be closer. So then I was in children's publishing in Illinois for 7 years and then worked from home for Kinder Music International for another 5 years before then starting to I did some freelance work for Fons and Porter Love of Quilting magazine. And then later on, I was hired as the art director for their magazines. So that's kind of how I kept going along the way.
Interesting.
Keeping in it. My grandmother had taught me to quilt when I was little.
Okay. And that just kind of stuck with you through this whole time?
Yeah. I had asthma when I was little. And so especially during the cold weather, I couldn't be outside with my older brothers. I'm one of 6 boys. Mm-hmm. And so she was always trying to find things to keep me occupied. And so one time I asked for one too many quilts, and she said, well, you've got 2 hands. You can make it yourself. So,
well, there you go.
Yep. And she had kept in quilting because she had 10 kids. And so all of her quilts when I was growing up were scrap quilts. Okay. And so it was either the fabric that was left from making clothes for her kids or what was left of the clothes when the elbows and knees wore out. So,
right. Goodness. So did you always know you wanted to own a quilt shop, or how did that come into play during this?
I never thought about owning a quilt shop. It just kind of came along 10 years ago at the time that the Iowa Quilt Museum, I was on the board of directors, and I still am on the board of directors for the Iowa Quilt Museum. We had purchased the building for the museum, mm-hmm. and at the same time, the corporation that owned Fons and Porter Love of Quilting decided they didn't want to have a retail shop anymore. So they put the building up for sale, and they were going to move the editorial offices to West Des Moines. And the board knew that there was value in having a good quilt shop with the museum. It was a good play together. And so I had been teaching for 5 years for Joyce Franklin down in Creston, Iowa. She had Knits and Other Notions, mm-hmm. It was Quilts and Other Notions by then, down in Creston. And so I called her up and said, well, if you ever wanted to have a quilt shop in Winterset, I think I know somebody that could run it for you.
Now's the time.
Now's the time. What I didn't realize was that she had decided to retire, and she had already sold her business down in Creston.
Okay.
And was just going to retire. But through some talking, she said, well, who wouldn't want to have the quilt shop next to the Iowa Quilt Museum? So that's how we got started, was that she decided, yes, she would purchase the building, and we would start up the Pieceworks Quilt Shop up here next to it. I knew I was tired of working for corporations. And so this was a way that I could work. I was given the freedom to do what I wanted with designing quilts and making quilts and things. So it was a good opportunity for me and I was a manager for 10 years. Mm-hmm. And then, but the plan always was that when she wanted to truly retire, that my wife and I, if we were able to, would take over so that she could retire and we could continue to have the quilt shop running.
Mm-hmm. And that happened, right?
And that happened.
Yes.
So February 9th is when my wife and I took over, just after our 10th anniversary of opening the shop.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
So for someone who maybe has never walked through the front doors of Pieceworks, can you describe it?
It's an explosion of color and pattern, is what it is. We've got about 7,000 bolts of fabric. What we're trying to do is inspire people. Our goal when we opened the shop was to add to what was available in the area, and then what we consider the area is the greater Des Moines area. Okay. There's about 5 quilt shops in that area, and we wanted to add to what was available, not duplicate. Mm-hmm. There's in the quilting world, there's space for everybody because there's so much variety. And, so we were looking at the fabrics that you could see online, but you couldn't actually see in person at a lot of the shops. Okay. Both Joyce and I like art quilts and more contemporary quilts. And so that's kind of where we went with our choices of designers. And so, yeah, we've become a destination shop for those unusual fabrics that aren't showing up in the other shops.
Yes. And your shop is unique because a designer is an owner, correct?
Right. Yeah. So I've been designing quilts. I was designing while I was the art director for Fonz Portalove of Quilting. Actually, I've been designing my own quilts since I was in high school. But that was when I officially started doing patterns and stuff. And so now I've got over 60 patterns available in our shop. And most of them are exclusive to our shop. And that's the fun part, is if I get an idea for a quilt, if I want to try and make a pattern out of it, I can. And I don't have to ask somebody else whether it's all right if I do that pattern or stuff. So
right. And you have a few of your patterns with you. Can you explain what some of these are?
Yeah, this one is Iowa raised, and it is, the story behind it was I did the original version of this quilt in red and white when we were trying to raise money for the building for the Iowa Quilt Museum. Mm-hmm. And so we wanted something that we could have kind of as a backdrop when people went out to ask for money. And so I made this quilt in red and white. Now that it's the 10th anniversary, the Iowa Quilt Museum was gifted a swatch book from the 20s. Mm-hmm. And a swatch book is just little chunks of fabric that a fabric manufacturer had that cataloged what fabrics they made in what year, kind of a dye lot, whatever information they wanted on it. Okay. And it actually was one of our sales reps that had gifted it to the museum. Well, we worked with Wyndham Fabrics, and they actually recreated 24 of those fabrics for us this year. And so then I've remade it in the blue and white fabrics that they created from the swatch book. So the line of fabrics is called Swatch Book. And so I created it, and then I actually wrote the pattern for it now. Cool. So we had kits, and all the kits I think now have sold, but part of the proceeds for the kits went directly to the museum for that. So that's where this one came from. It's actually the Iowa block is the center, and then it's Rising Star blocks around it. So that's where it got its name.
Very cool.
And then these are just a couple of the other ones, Stellar Joy and All Inked Up. Kind of an interesting story behind All Inked Up is that somebody took my pattern and they made a version using some K-Facet cool color fabrics, blues and purples and greens, and then used a bright yellow fabric, one of his fabrics, for the striping. And Kay Fassett is a designer from England. He's originally from the U.S., but he's been living in England since the 60s. Very well known all over the world. She posted the image of the quilt made from my pattern onto their website or their Facebook site. Mm-hmm. I am now getting orders for the digital pattern from all over the world.
How cool
Literally
is that?
all over the world. So I wish I could take credit. This is what it kind of looks like. And this is hanging in the shop currently. And I wish I could take credit for coming up with the original idea, but I didn't. But I thought, well, I better have one because it's really selling it well. So, but it's just amazing that it's taken off and selling all over the world.
Very cool. So it sounds like the shop has evolved a lot over the last 10 years. Would you agree with that?
Yes, we've grown. We've really figured out who our customers are. We have become a destination shop.
Yes.
So we get people from all over the country, people from all over the world that come traveling to see our shop. We've now honed in on a few designers that basically whenever they come out with a line of fabrics, we get the entire line because people know that we're going to have it and there's not other shops that have it. So we'll get people that will come for those different designers and come looking. And it's surprising sometimes there's like this year, there's been a fabric line I've had called Ruby Star that we've had for years, and I would pick what collections I liked. And I was starting to get to the point where it's like, okay, should I stop getting it because it's not as, we have a couple times a year that we have people that come in and get it and stuff. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden somebody came in, they took pictures of the fact that we had it. They put it online to their friends. And now we've become known for having Ruby Star fabrics.
Well,
so
there you go.
And so we're getting people that either call in and order it or they stop in on their way through. And so you just never know when something like that's going to hit. And it's like, okay, I can continue to order now.
Yeah. So those that are stopping in, are you seeing that it's beneficial to partner with the other quilting avenues in the community, such as like the Quilt Museum or Quilts of Valor and the other local?
Yeah, but it's more just the shops in general because it really becomes. We are open 7 days a week because the Quilt Museum is open 7 days a week, and we want to make sure that if somebody's taking like a 2-hour trip to come here, we're making it well worth their while.
Yeah.
So even on a Sunday, if they want to come and see the Quilt Museum, they can also shop at the Quilt Shop. But we also want to involve them with the rest of the community, and so like on a Sunday, they can come and they can have brunch at one of the establishments that's open and things like that. And so we want them to come and spend a weekend and encourage them to spend more time. So it's not just trying to say, okay, it's the Quilt Museum and us, but we're really letting them know what other wonderful things are because we have a unique square. Mm-hmm. It's not the typical stores that you can find anywhere. It's definitely well worth a trip just to do the shopping because it's unusual shops,
right?
That we've got, and that just enhances people coming down.
I would agree with you there.
So.
And do you still have your retreat center?
Joyce kept the retreat center, but yes, we still have a retreat center that's just on the side street by the shop. So we still have classes. We have monthly retreats that you can come and you can just do whatever projects you want. But then like the classes, and I've been trying to schedule one class a month. June, I don't do a class because I teach. I taught like this year. I taught 2 classes during the Quilt Festival at the beginning of June, so there wasn't a need to have another one. I won't be teaching a class in August because with all the county fairs and the state fair and stuff, it's harder to get. Your time is being taken by other things, and so I'm not try that. But in September, I will be back to doing one quilt class a month there that I do.
Are those retreat classes listed like on your website or something, or how can people find those? You'll
probably need to contact the shop. I think they are actually on the calendar for our website, which is pieceworksquiltshop.com. There is a calendar, and I think those are listed on there. I need to get better about getting the classes up on calendars.
There's always something more to do, right?
I'm good about keeping Facebook up, but keeping a lot of the other stuff.
Yeah. Are these classes listed on Facebook then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever I have them, I put them up on Facebook as...
The Shopper, The Madisonian, and The Exchange, your locally owned weekly publications from Madco Media Group in Winterset. The Shopper arrives free in mailboxes across Madison County, The Madisonian keeps you connected in print and online, and The Exchange is Iowa's largest marketplace publication. Plus, promote your business or events on our 10 digital billboards across Winterset. From design and copy to office services, we can do your light work. Madco Media Group, see what we can do for you. Located just off the square in Winterset. Locally owned, trusted, and connected. Call 515-462-1535 or email ads@madcomedia.com because local is where the heart is. Let's talk about your hand-dyed fabrics.
Okay. It's kind of fun to work and create your own one-of-a-kind. Because one of the things that a lot of people don't know me for are my art quilts. And I've done art quilts since probably the early 1990s. Because I was doing art quilts as my day job was to design to make somebody else happy. And so my art quilts were my way of making me happy. And I just designed my quilts and did them for me. And if somebody else liked them, great. But if not, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
So I've done art quilts for years. And so a lot of it, what I like is the hand-dyed fabric because no one else is going to have that to put in there. So you can't recreate this art quilt. And so I started first we started with snow dyeing. I had heard about snow dyeing and I thought, Iowa has a lot of snow. Let's work with it.
Let's use the surroundings, right? That's awesome.
The only thing with snow dyeing is you're at the mercy of the weather. And so whenever it snows, you have to be ready. And not always do you have the time to do it when you've got a good snow. But then I heard about ice dyeing and I started seeing samples of ice dyeing. So I took up ice dyeing. And ice dyeing you can do even in the middle. Actually, it's great to do in the summer because it melts faster. And so the process goes. But what you're doing is you're taking your fabric and you're just kind of laying the fabric out, bunching it up. And you start to learn how to get different effects based on how you crumple it up and things.
Okay.
Then you put a layer of ice on top of it, and then you sprinkle your Procyon dye on the top. So you don't have a lot of control over what you're going to get because it's however it melts. And the colors that you get are based off of what temperature the dye is when it hits the fabric. These are fiber reactive dyes.
Okay.
And so when they hit the fabric, that's when they're coloring it. It's not an immersion, so it's not going to get darker because it's sat there longer. I found it's as it's coming onto the fabric, that's when it's getting. And with ice, it changes the composition of the dyes, and so I've got a bronze color that I love, which is what you would think. Well, it separates out into oranges and browns and blue. Oh. There's a light blue that showed up. I wasn't using any other color. I just wanted to see what it would do. And I was getting this light blue that was showing up in it. So it's kind of fun to see what shows up as you're doing this process and the fact that you can't control every aspect of it. And so it's going to be something unique every time.
Yeah. So when you do your hand-dyed fabric, how much fabric are you playing with at a time?
Usually I'm doing 1 yard to 2 yards at a time.
Okay.
Depending on what I want to do. Some of the pieces that I've done, I'm just trying to figure out how to quilt them as a whole piece because now that I've dyed them, they're interesting as a single piece. And so I want to keep them as just a whole quilt. And it's just a matter of figuring out how I want to quilt them and add texture to the surface with thread and things that instead of actually cutting them up.
Yeah. Yeah. Which makes it very unique compared to your commercially purchased fabric. Yeah. Okay. Very neat. So do you have favorite color combinations that you like to use when you're hand dyeing fabric?
Not really. I've got a mixture of different ones that I work with. I usually do 2 to 3 colors when I'm dyeing. Any more than that, it starts to get a little muddy sometimes. But I do sometimes just do a single one because when you're designing something, you want some things that aren't as busy and colorful so that they're a contrast to what else is going on. And so they're not as much fun to do, but I have to remember every so often that yes, you've got to take the time and do those more simple ones that will calm your piece down.
Yes. You seem like someone who really enjoys being creative in a lot of different ways. Where do you think that creativity comes from?
Well, I'm one of 6 boys, and we didn't have a whole lot when I was growing up, and we were raised in the era of it's like go outside and play and come in at lunchtime and things like that. And so we did a lot of things that were imaginative. You're playing with sticks, or even when you've got your Matchbox cars, you're creating cities and things like that. So I think that was part of it. And I've just been, ever since I was little, trying to create things out of whatever I had on hand. Mm-hmm. So, I knew from a little age, since I was little, I think in 4th grade, we did there was a competition for posters for Career Day. Yeah. And my poster was for The Artist, and I still actually have the artwork for it.
That's awesome.
And I was, the funny part about it was I drew myself with a beard and mustache. And that came to pass too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I knew back then. Of course, growing up, I thought, well, I'd probably be an art teacher.
Mm-hmm. Which you are, in a sense. Yeah.
I thought that was the only way to make a living with art was to be an art teacher. And that's changed. I found out about graphic design and got into graphic design. But
yeah, I love that you're leaning into your strengths in that too, of art and creativity, and not shying away from that, I think that's part of what makes you unique and your shop unique too.
Because one of the things that we're known for is, I tell people when I go out and do talks, it's like, I've got the best job in the world as a quilter, because I can just say, I want to see what this fabric and this fabric look like together and what happens with them. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to match somebody's house. I'm not trying to please somebody else. I can just say, I want to see what these look like. And so I put together combinations that other people probably aren't thinking about because they're playing it safe. And so hopefully that's inspiring people when they come in, because that's what I'm known for is traditional piecing, but my fabric choices are not traditional.
Yeah. So do you see yourself more as an artist, an entrepreneur, a teacher, or something else? If you could only pick one category, which one would you say you fall into?
Probably the artist, but closely followed by teacher.
Yeah.
Because I do like to encourage other people to keep exploring, and I want to inspire them to try new things.
Yeah. So how do the new ideas usually come to you? Is it just the experimental, I want to see what these look like? You're curious?
Yeah. A lecture I do is called Quilting and the Art of What If. And that's what I tell people. My design style is what if. Because usually when I'm working on something, my brain's still going and I'm going, well, what if I changed this? What if I did this a little bit differently? What if I changed the values of the fact? What would happen? And then I create that, and that comes up with the next design for it. And so, it's just constantly looking at things and going, well, what if I did this? Or seeing a texture out in nature and saying, okay, I think this would be a good pattern. What if I made a quilt using that kind of texture?
Yeah. It's a good way to approach teaching too, because then there's not really a wrong a wrong answer
Right.
because it's well, what if?
Yeah.
Very cool. So one thing that I found fascinating is that quilting is only part of what you do. As I've gotten to know you, I didn't know your background in publishing and the graphic design and all of that. What other creative passions or projects do you do outside of quilting?
Well, there's my wife and I love historic architecture, and that's part of what drew us to Winterset initially too. So we do a lot of our traveling is to go to historical houses. We've gone to Biltmore, Grove Park in North Carolina. We went down to Mississippi to Natchez to see the historic homes there and things like that. So we really have a love of historic. I used to have time to garden, not so much now. But the other thing is I do a lot of writing. I design the patterns, I write patterns, but I also I was on the National Board of Directors for Quilts of Valor, which is kind of a passion for me. My father-in-law was 36 years career National Guard. That was his day job. And then my wife's uncle was in World War II. He actually signed up when he was 16, lied about his age. And he was on the USS Aaron Ward, and that had actually gotten direct hits by 5 kamikaze planes. So pretty much the top of the ship was sheared off. They lost over half of the people, but he was one of them that made it back.
Oh, wow.
So the Quilts of Valor means a lot to me, but I was on the National Board of Directors for a time period there. Then I did for 12 years, I was the designer for their newsletter. And then I've just recently, I'm one of the writers for their All-Star Quilts of Valor. This is the second edition. The first, we've added 12 new quilts to this edition, and they've now got it as a wire bound, so it's an easier one to work with.
Yes.
So they're a nice group that I've worked with. But then we work with some of the local groups here in Winterset or Madison County. I've donated quilts for some of the events that mean something to my wife and I. So.
Very cool. It seems like you have a big sense of community around you.
Yeah, it's important. This is a good community, especially with the retailers. They support each other, and we try to find ways of bringing more people in and not just going, well, this is just for me, and I don't care what happens, because it is important. If the more we make more things that are here for people to come for, the more people are going to come, and they're going to spend more time. And that's important because there's places, a lot of quilt shops in the summer aren't as busy because quilting isn't as big. Though in Iowa, you hibernate as much in this heat as you do in the winter when it's cold. But we've got the tourism, and it's because of everything that the community and the county has built up over the years. And so for us, that's great. Our big season is the summer because quilters won't pass a quilt shop when they're on vacation. I think you're right.
Yeah. They might need that one thing that's not in their closet right now. Yeah. So what do you enjoy most about being a part of this community? I know you've talked on the collaboration and stuff, but is there one thing that you're like, this is why?
It's the historical square, with the love of historic architecture and things. It's the fact that for so many years, the square was kept in good shape without there being lots of regulations keeping it that way. Shows that there's a community here that finds things like that important. Yeah. And so since it's important to us, it's nice to know that there's a community that has taken care of that, even without being told you must keep it going.
So, owning a small business isn't always glamorous. What have you found to be some of your biggest challenges?
Paperwork. Lots of paperwork.
Yes.
So that's the biggest challenge. And the challenge right now is, we are open 7 days a week. And with it just being run by or owned by us, I do have part-time people, but it does leave a lot of time that I'm working in the shop by myself. And so it's trying to get that life balance with everything else that's going on.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that a lot of people, they see that you live in a small community, they think, okay, there's not much going on and stuff. And I find myself all the time going, well, I wish, there's 3 things going on. Which one are we going to do? And that kind of thing, because there is so much going on in this community and in the county that you want to be a part of. But then you're also weighing that with, okay, I would like to be home with my dogs sometimes.
Yep. Or I'm like to go to those things, but I'm working at my own shop, so I can't go. Yes. So what keeps you motivated?
It's going back to the fact that for the first time, I'm in control of what I want to do. Totally in control, and can see what can throw out my ideas and see if they're going to work. And it's all on me. If it works, it's great. If it doesn't work, it's my fault. And I don't have to justify it to anybody else. It's getting that freedom to do what I want to do.
Yeah. So how has Madison County supported your business, or how can they continue to support your business?
We've got a very active Quilt of Valor group, and actually that even goes beyond Madison County, because we do get some people that are down more towards Creston and everything that come up once a month, and they're working on quilts for veterans that are all over Iowa. We're kind of known for filling in those spots where there aren't Quilt of Valor groups too. We want to take care of the ones in the area, but we're also willing to do ones for those deserving veterans that just aren't getting the quilts because they just happen to be in an area that there's an inactive group. And so Jerry Beam has been really good about heading up that group for us. And so that's been really great. We've got a lot of good quilters here in Madison County. I'm with Liz Porter and Marianne Fons starting Fons and Porter Love of Quilting here in the community, and they started at the Extension office in the 60s, or in the 70s. That's definitely made this area a very popular quilt destination.
So looking ahead, what's something you're working on right now that you're excited about?
Well, actually, right now, the one thing that I'm doing, it's the 100th anniversary of the Clark Tower. And so I am working on a applique piece that's going to be that I'm donating for their silent auction. I heard about this.
I'm very excited to see it.
It's like I'm going, oh yeah, this is coming real fast.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on currently. So kind of it's kind of fun to be able to do more of an art project. That I do, it's making time for it, where other times I just don't have, I've got other things to do, so I can't do it. So this one's giving me a chance to do a little bit more art.
Nice. Do you have any new classes, products, or projects coming up?
As I say, I will probably, the next class will be in September. Okay. I'm contemplating now doing the Iowa Raised class as my next one. But that I feel it needs to be a 2-day class. So I have to find out, if that'll work out time-wise. Actually, one of the new products we've got, my wife was in commercial interior design for many years. And so when we were at H&H, which is a big show for fiber arts and things, we found a manufacturer that does chair or seating for sewing. And we got really excited because it's really good quality. It's made for the quilter. And so we've decided to take on that line. And so if anybody's looking for good seating that'll be more comfortable for them while they're sewing or even working at a desk, we've now got that as a new product in. The other new product is cherry wood fabrics. Many people came through for the cherry wood challenge at the Iowa Quilt Museum, which was the Poppy Challenge. It's a group of, it's owned by a woman, but it's 10 women that do all the dyeing and making of the fabric, all hand dyed up near Brainerd, Minnesota. Really good quality hand dyed fabrics. It looks like kind of a brushed leather type look, and we've started carrying that now too, because a lot of times you can only get it if you go to one of the big shows or if you go to their shop up in Minnesota. And so it's good to have that, because I don't think there's a lot of places in Iowa that have it available for people to purchase.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that you've always wanted to create, but just haven't had the time or space or energy to do it?
There's probably lots of things. I tried for a while to do some pottery and ceramics. And it's one of those things, especially if you're throwing something on the wheel, you have to continually do it so that you get so used to it. And I just haven't had the time to do that. I'm always in awe of people who can throw pottery and create great pieces. So I collect a lot of it, but I have not had enough time to actually get into it.
Maybe
myself.
Someday, right?
Maybe someday in my retirement.
So if someone walked into Pieceworks for the first time tomorrow, what would you hope they leave with besides a lot of fabric?
I hope they're inspired to go out and try something different and not just stay with their standard, okay, this is what I do. I'm trying to get people to say, okay, this is what you're comfortable with, but what if you just do a little bit different and change it up? The interesting thing to me is somebody will see a quilt on display and they'll say, I love that quilt, but I could never do it. And it's like, why can't you? You see that you love it. So why can't you just sew those two fabrics together and do it?
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of what somebody else is going to say about it. If you love it, just do it. It doesn't need somebody else's stamp of approval for you to enjoy what you enjoy.
Right. Yeah. So true. And what if? Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Anything else you'd like to add today?
Not that I can think of, but
we've covered a lot. Yes.
But yeah, it's been a nice creative journey for me, and it's given me a good outlet.
Yes. Well, I'm so thrilled that you and your wife are running the shop and you're leaning into your artistic creativity and doing all the things that you're doing.
Well, thank you.
So keep doing it. It's awesome.
Right.
I cannot wait to see your Clark Tower quilt. In the meantime, if you're interested in doing a class or learning more, you can check out Tony on his website, Pieceworks
Quiltshop.com.
Quiltshop.com. And your Facebook page, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Definitely the Facebook page. That's what I keep up to date most. So anything that's current is going to be on that.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Be sure to like and subscribe.
Thank you for listening to Bridging the Gap, the Madison County Chamber of Commerce podcast, where Madison County's stories and businesses connect. We hope today's conversation gave you a deeper look at the people and passion behind our local community. To learn more about today's guest, visit their website, and for more chamber events, membership, or resources, visit www.madisoncounty.com. Be sure to subscribe, share, and join us next time as we continue bridging the gap across Madison County.